Hello, and welcome to episode 276 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,000 More Movies You Must See Before You Die. Before I get into this video, which is the 1973 film Serpico, starring Al Pacino and directed by Sidney Lumet, I wanted to just kind of bring things down to like the present at the moment. So, I'm recording this in July of 2023. A month away from the 10-year anniversary of this entire series. And the video that was just before this was filmed in 2020. And I think the review before that was filmed in 2021. And I think the review after this is probably filmed in 2020. So I got into this weird thing where I was trying to like pre-film videos with Connie so that there's like a nice mix of solo reviews from me and, me and her doing reviews, and it just got all jumbled, and I was shooting forwards and ahead, and it got messed up. So I'm hoping now I get to episode 300 and can kind of hit a hard reset and no more pre-filming stuff, and we can kind of reset the chronology, because right now it's completely messed up. But that's fine. We're here to talk about Serpico. And I want to talk about this film in general terms because I was looking up some of the behind-the-scenes stuff to maybe talk about it, and I just thought there's so much to go into. I don't have the time to fully research it and immerse myself in the behind the scenes production of Serpico. I'd love to do it in a later date because I really thought the film was fantastic, but if I do a deep dive on every single film, I'm never going to finish this series. It's been 10 years and I've almost done 300 episodes at this point. There's about 6 or 7 after this that have been filmed in the past. So I'm close to 300, but I would really like to make a renewed effort with this series. Anyway, all that aside, Serpico. I put this on, and this is like the harsh realities now I'm finding of adult life, is that I get to the point where I can't always watch a film in one sitting, because time just doesn't allow for it. And so I finished a late night shift at work, came home, was still really hungry, and that's kind of the pitfalls of having dinner at 5 p.m. and then working for 6 hours, and then you get home and you're just starving. So I thought I'll make something to eat and I'll put something on for like 20 minutes. And for some reason, Serpico just jumped out at me. I thought, okay, I'll stick on the first 20 minutes, get a feel of it, and then I'll finish it tomorrow or something. So had my dinner, started watching Serpico, and it opens with this like incredible beginning where you see Al Pacino. Remind me of Reservoir Dogs, really. It opens with Al Pacino in the back of a car, bleeding out. He's been shot, right? It's this really dramatic scene. It takes place at night, and it's kind of raw and it's gritty. And then within the first minute of the film, we got a split diopter shot. I thought, okay, Lumet ain't fucking around. Okay, this is pretty cool. So we got the split diopter shot at the beginning. Serpico's been shot. It's as serious as a heart attack. And then it's the New York Times. Serpico's been shot, and this guy gets out of bed. Oh my god! They get down to the hospital. Like it seems like such a massive deal, and then you get this talk of like, well, I know at least 6 police officers who want him dead, and I knew that the film was about a police officer played by Al Pacino. So okay, so he's really riled, his fellow co-workers, right? So this is a really intriguing hook at the beginning, and then as he's there in the hospital and people are kind of outside the room and stuff and very tense, we flash back to Serpico, Frank Serpico, as he begins his career as a police officer, which, as I read, actually, there's a few things I read. It's actually based on a real person. I didn't know this until the film was over, but the real Serpico, I think, enlisted and joined the police force in New York in the late 50s. And then the scene that we're seeing at the beginning of the movie where he's been shot takes place in the early 70s. So the whole movie takes place over about 10, 12, 13 years. I would say that the impression the film gave me that it maybe took place over 5 or 6 years, but I don't know if they're going for that exact chronology from the real life story or not, but it flashes back to his first day and kind of, celebrating with his family and stuff. And then we go back to the hospital. And I thought, oh my God, what if this whole movie is this guy in the hospital and it's a life or death, touch or go situation, and we keep flashing back to see the full story. That kind of does happen, but it kind of doesn't at the same time because I'm doing a lot of stuff with my hands. Video. There's a lot to kind of wrangle with this film, I think, but they do that one flashback to when he starts his career. We come back to the hospital, and then we flash back again, and then that's it. Then it's the whole movie is the flashback. So it's one of those 2-hour flashback movies. But this is a 2 hour, 10-minute movie. There was no way starting the movie at like 12:30 at night I was going to watch the whole thing because I need to go to bed, right? I could not stop watching. Another 10 minutes, just another 20 minutes, Okay, I'll watch half the film, Okay, let me just find a good point to end it so that I'm kind of hooked for the next viewing session. And I just thought, fuck, it's already late. Let's just finish it. And it really just caught my attention so much and really drew me into this world of this guy who, wherever he went, different precincts, different assignments, plain clothes, with the police uniform. He wants to be an undercover cop, an undercover detective, and he's kind of, he's toiling away in these jobs for years and different roles in different precincts and stuff to get where he wants to be. But the one thing he keeps encountering is dirty money. The one thing he keeps encountering is cops saying, "Oh well, we bust these guys and skim them off the top, and this will be your cut." And Serpico's like, "I don't take money, This is one rule I've always had: I don't take money." And they say, "Well, people won't trust you if you don't take money." Let's go figure. How does that work out? And he's like, "Well, that's my principle. Take it or leave it." And so it's this 2 hour just building dread drama where the deeper he gets into standing his ground and believing in his own personal morals and principles, the bigger the threat that one of his fellow police officers are going to kill him, basically. And he is getting more paranoid. It is just destroying his life. It's eating away at him from the inside, and he wants to make a difference, but he's getting made promises by these higher, and I could go through like character names and like actors and stuff, but I just think that I think I read there's like 103 speaking parts in the film, or like 104, 105 or something. There's 104 locations. Like, this film rattles along, clicks along at such a pace because it's scene after scene after scene, and it's like these fragments and these snapshots. And one scene he's growing in the mustache, another scene is there's a big bushy beard. Like, time is being marked in ways where your hand isn't being held, and you might be 2 years further into the timeline and you won't find out for 10 minutes until someone says something and you pick up on it and go, "Oh, so it's been 2 years since that last part." So I love that kind of storytelling. It just drops you into this continuing narrative and the chronology and stuff, because it it again doesn't hold your hand. It's not like 1972. I like that it treats you a bit more intelligently than that. And I think that Sidney Lumet did a phenomenal job with this film, because it was just so engaging when really it's kind of a one-note story. It really just is: guy joins the police force, refuses to take dirty money, and is increasingly threatened by the kind of bent police officers around him who want him to kind of join the cult, basically. That's the whole movie. It doesn't really, there's different flavors throughout and stuff, and there's different kinds of characters who mostly fall on that side. But I think that there's enough variation of like his personal life and his professional life, and how those kind of meld together as well, and clash and pull apart, and how each is kind of feeding off the other and kind of destroying the other at the same time. He has a number of girlfriends and relationships that I loved how we saw his relationships evolve with women in the film. There's only two really, but there's a neighbor who kind of becomes his main girlfriend throughout the majority of the movie, I would say. And you see their initial kind of meet cutes, where he's kind of like talking to her over the garden wall, and it's like the chemistry's there instantly, and then she's just living with him. They don't show you everything, and that was really interesting to me. And I thought actually, for the whole film, I thought all the performances were phenomenal. Lots of like little character actor kind of parts, and really like believable New York cop characters. Phenomenal performances across the film. I would say that his main girlfriend is probably the weak link when she has to do the scenes where she's really anguished and really upset, and it feels like I'm watching acting a little bit. Which is a shame, because she was really good in like the kind of the more romantic side and the more, mellow parts of her performance and character. Al Pacino, amazing. This guy, I mean, I know people don't really talk about him that much when it comes to like great actors, He's kind of under the radar, I think. Oh wait, no, he is kind of lauded as one of the best actors of his generation, maybe of all time. Probably valid. You know, you look at some of the stuff that he's done, and he almost gets lumped into maybe some people who haven't seen a lot of his performances. They'll think, oh, The Godfather, you know. But you know, look at The Godfather, and then this shortly afterwards, right? And then like Dog Day Afternoon. Three incredibly different characters, you know, and it's Serpico. You know, he's almost a bit of a hippie, you know, the way he grows his beard out and stuff, and the kind of the weird kind of hats that he wears and everything. And there's kind of like a personal expression coming out of Serpico, it feels like, that's kind of dressed as, well, I'm undercover. But there's a bit of a flamboyance to him that's kind of interesting, and I wasn't expecting. And I love the look, I have to say. I love the kind of shaggy haired, bearded Pacino. He really pulls that off well. But I don't know, there's something about the way he walks is informing a character, and it's jumping off the screen, and I'm invested. And again, like I said, in terms of like one note, you know, it is just him refusing the dirty money and trying to get somewhere with that, and trying to maybe report it, and trying to maybe crack open this mass corruption within the wider New York police force, right? But he's struggling every step of the way, and he makes friends along the way, but mostly enemies. And it's just a twisted web of all this corruption and his kind of personal quest to do the right thing, you know. And it just mounts and mounts and mounts. And, you know, yeah, ultimately the message is, man, aren't certain institutions really corrupt? And it's difficult to really, you know, fight back against it. Yes. You know, and in a way it almost feels fruitless. But I think that it's a kind of triumph of the human spirit a little bit. And it's, you know, certainly the character as portrayed in the movie is made of tougher stuff than I am. I tend to, in my personal life, in certain areas, I think, I've come to accept that the way the world works involves eating a fair amount of shit. You know, sometimes you just got to eat shit, you know, and just get, and I'm not saying to the point of like accepting dirty money from police officers, but, you know, there's certain things where, you know, just don't buck the system, you know, just stick your head down and get on with it sometimes, you know. There's been situations like that in various jobs I've had in the past where it's been like, that ain't right, really, is it? And then it's like, well, fuck it. Just eat shit and move on. Not worth the hassle, you know. I think a lot of people are like that. I think that's why the world has become the way it is. It is what it is. I understand it. But I really respect and admire the people who, even against like mortal ramifications, are gonna stick to, you know, really doing a virtuous thing. And you could argue that what he's doing is, you know, maybe he's likes making himself a martyr, you know, but I was really wrapped up in it, and I just, even though you know that he gets shot, because the movie opens with him with a hole in his cheek, right? Now you're just wondering, how does it happen? Why does it happen? Who's involved? You know, and they talk about how, like, well, no police officers can actually shoot him, but they might put him in a situation where he gets shot. And now that the tension of almost every scene as we get towards the third act, or like I don't really feel like there is three act structure to this film, but, you know, as you get to the tail end of the movie, I feel like it can happen at any moment, and I'm getting really, you know, drawn into it and stuff. So overall, I thought the film was fantastic. I just, you know, was drawn in, as I said. And there's so many things you could talk about with this film. And I, you know, when I mentioned the split diopter shot at the beginning, there's a few of them in the film, but it's really just, you know, it's a very raw kind of film. It shows you things in a sense as it is, right? There's nothing too beyond the split diopter shots at the beginning and throughout the film. You know, the camera work isn't particularly fancy, or there isn't a lot of, you know, hey, look at this cool shot. But I think that it's, you just get drawn into it, that there's nothing fancy about the way this film is made, I feel like, and that really just facilitates there's like a party sequence where, and this is Pacino's first girlfriend in the movie, and she's like, hey, this is Frank, he's a cop. And you see the demeanor of the mutual friends kind of shift and change. And he's like, hey, can you just do me a favor? Just don't introduce me as a cop. You know, let me get around to doing that. And then like the party just changes, and suddenly he's sat in a different room with someone, and he's just talking about this random bullshit, and they're laughing, and then he's dancing again. Like, I just like the kind of the snapshot style of in a way, memory, if you look at the whole film as a flashback from Serpico's perspective when he's been shot, but also, and maybe he's thinking of these key pivotal moments that led him to that point. But I like that storytelling device of, it's episodic in a way, but it also is all building towards this one, this one narrative or this one guy moving forward against this oppressive corruption. And as it gets towards the point where now he is kind of fully becoming a whistleblower, it gets kind of exciting and dangerous and filled with tension. And yeah, there's so many little things I loved about the film. I'd have to see it again, watch a couple of documentaries on the Blu-ray, and really dive into some of it. I know that the real life Serpico was not too enthused with the film. Pacino met with him and tried to really get into the methods, to kind of live the character, so to speak. But apparently the real life Serpico was less than enthused with the final film and walked out before it was finished and didn't see the film really until the 2010s, some 40 years later. So I'd like to get into all of that behind the scenes stuff, and really, this is a film that's worth it. But just for my initial reactions, and I need to remind myself that while it's nice to kind of profile a film and give it a full retrospective and talk about all the behind the scenes stuff, and go into all but it's hard to go into all details with this film because there's so many characters. And that's another thing I really enjoyed about it, was that it was a living, breathing cast of characters that all felt really authentic to me. And so there's just lots of things that are done right in this film, to use the word again, that facilitate a really engrossing drama that I just was so wrapped up in. And so, yeah, I would give the film my highest marks. I think I just thought that it was fantastic. So, maybe the end kind of was a little flat, I think, maybe, in terms of the real story. And also just, this was made, I think a year after Serpico was shot, right? And I guess I just spoiled it by saying that, he didn't watch the movie until the 2010s. But, the events of, his life up until that point was so fresh when they made the movie. And there was a book written as well, and it was adapted from the book. I think John Avildsen was going to direct it at one point. Anyway, I'm getting kind of wrapped up in these things that I don't know all the details about, but very fresh in Serpico's life. When the film was made and everything. So it'd be interesting to do a deeper dive on this and kind of get some of that stuff. But really, and as I said, the ending maybe was a bit of an anticlimax. Up to a point, I think I did feel a bit like, well, that's okay. Maybe that's the one mark I could take away from it. But now that I know that's how it ends and that's the way that it kind of tails off, I suppose, I think that I'll enjoy it more in the future. I just loved spending time with him, and I just think Pacino, he's just great. So the key question, is it a film you should see before you die? Yes, I think it is. I think that in the world of cinema and films, and for someone who might want to consider a list of films they should watch before they die, they're probably invested in the art of the performance, because most movies have performances in them. And that's what draws us to them, is these characters that get brought to life. And the goal, obviously, is for you to forget that you're looking at an actor and just see the character. And I really did pretty much kind of the iconography of Al Pacino kind of faded away, and disappeared under that bushy beard, the hippie beard of Frank Serpico. So I think he did a great job, and it was a great film. And I do think it's a film you should see before you die. I do agree with its inclusion in the book. That's all I have to say for now. And again, I feel like I'm shortchanging it, even though I've been rambling on for quite a while now. I do need to rein myself in a little bit and realize that you don't need to go into everything with every video. But what can I say? I'm passionate, and I feel like trying to do the best job I can. But I think I've pretty roundly summarized why I love this film. And I think that it's worth mentioning that it was a night that I was not planning on staying up late for. And I paid for it in the morning, believe you me. I had to get up 5 hours later and a whole day ahead of me. That was a rough day at the office, but that's how good the film was. The film was just like, no, you cannot deny me. You're going to watch me all night. There's no pausing this. There's no breaking this up into 2 sittings. You're going to watch this till the very end. And I did. And I don't regret it, because now I'm a week afterwards and I don't feel the effects of it the day after. So, and it's a good little story. I think that it was, it demanded my full attention, and I had to watch it in one sitting. And so That is a mark, I think, of a great film. Not many would have that effect on me. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts down below on Serpico if you've seen it. If you think it's a film you should see before you die. And I'll see you in the next one, which I probably filmed about 18 years ago.